Hallworth. I work at the Port of Amsterdam, and I'm a commercial manager for circular and renewable industry. So at the Port of Amsterdam, we've actually got a department dedicated to circularity and to the energy transition and the move from linear to circular, the move from fossil to bio-based. So we're really concentrating on this. The three presentations from Elvira, from Jan and from Wim were very, very interesting to me. Gives me a little bit of insight into what's happening at other ports, because as Wim said, we hear from the bigger ports constantly, but the small and medium-sized ports, I think there's actually more happening at a much more effective level than maybe at the bigger ports. So it was really interesting, and I'm looking forward to talking some more about what we've already seen. But I've been asked to do a short presentation about ProDock. ProDock it's an initiative which was taken by the Port of Amsterdam to increase the impact of different innovative technologies on the port. But before I mention ProDock, just to give you a little idea of what we as a port authority are doing, what's our role within the region, this is us. This is the Port of Amsterdam. So what we were traditionally is an international transport hub. You know, the traditional port industry, as Wim mentioned, lots of ro-ro, containers, bulk, and so forth. But what we see is that the Amsterdam metropolitan area is growing and growing and growing, and it's encroaching on the port, which is making the port have to integrate into the Amsterdam metropolitan area. So we're moving from being just a logistical hub to a service center, if you like, for the city and for the region. And when you're a service center for the city and the region, you also need to be an industrial hotspot. So we've become this really, really interesting player within a very heavily populated area with increasing industrialization, increasing population, increasing innovation. And what you see is that the port can create value. So this is what we're wanting to do. We already mentioned that ports are not so much looking at tonnages anymore. It always, for 100 years, it's been, who's done the most, who's transshipped the most tonnage, and nobody really took any interest in what value that had. It was just about saying, yeah, I did more than you. But what we're seeing now is that it's all about creating value. Value for the city, value for the port, value for the companies, value for the region, and value for, well, the world in general. So this has brought us to a very interesting point as a port, meaning that we need to change our business model. We need to innovate. We need to be ready for the future. And during the crisis, 2008, 2009, all of a sudden we saw everything stagnate. The tonnages stagnated, the number of vessels coming in stagnated, investment stagnated. So we said to ourselves, what do we need to do? What can we do? We can sit here and we can wait until the old world comes back and everything starts growing again, or we can take a proactive approach. How can we become agile, flexible, proactive, all those words which were used by the consultants. We were lucky we didn't have consultants, we thought of this ourselves. And we decided to invent a hub for innovation in the port. But being in Amsterdam, we didn't want to become an incubator. There are lots of incubators in Amsterdam already. It's an existing business model. Amsterdam's an innovative city. People love to come there to start a startup. And we didn't want to jump on that bandwagon. So what we said is, okay, we're a port. We're quite a specific industrial area within the region. So we should create something which is specific to the port. So we created ProDock. So what is ProDock? Now, in a literal sense, it's just a building. It's an existing building. We had this building in our portfolio. When I got hold of this building, it had some sacks of cocoa in it, and it had an aeroplane which was upside down in the warehouse so that the fire brigade could practice there. So it was an existing building, so we did some recycling and we turned it into a plug-and-play location. So this is a location where young companies, not necessarily startups, but more the scale-ups, they've already done the sort of the lab test phase, and they want to move to the next phase. They want to go into the scaling phase, but they don't want to rent their own building, they don't want to build their own building, they don't want to commit themselves to a rental for 10 years. What they want is a location where they can go in on a Monday and by Friday they're up and running, with everything they need. So that's what we created. So this is a space of this is the office space you can see on the front here. That's at the front of the building, and at the back of the building you can just see it starting here. This is a warehouse of about 4,000 square meters. So what we did is we made a plug and play area. So we put in electricity, water, gas, sewage system, and that was in we call it the aorta. So it's like all the way around the building you've got this, you can see it here, this kind of idea. So companies can come in and they can just plug in and they can rent from us the space they need. If it's 10 meters, it's 10 square meters. If it's 100 square meters, it's 100 square meters. And if you need 700, you can have 700. If you need to grow, you can grow. If you need to shrink, you can shrink. You can sign a contract for a month or a maximum of 5 years. So it's really, really flexible. And by doing that, what we wanted to do is we wanted to bring in these young, innovative companies who could sort of, push things forward in the port. Instead of sitting and waiting, we're bringing in the next generation of port companies. So what happens when you put all these companies together in one building? You automatically get a community. So you've got companies, we have different focus areas in ProDock. We have circular economy, bio-based economy, energy transition, smart logistics. So those are the 3 points that Elvira mentioned. We've brought those together in ProDock. And we also have operational excellence. And when I say operational excellence, I mean those are services which can be used in the port to increase the productivity and the efficiency in a port area. So you bring all these different companies together who normally wouldn't be together in one building, and you get this community, you get this exchange of ideas, you get these synergies which start happening, people learning from each other, people joining each other to take on new projects and so forth. So what happens then? So we've brought them in, we've given them the space, we've created this community, and then that's our next role as a Port of Amsterdam. We create a launch pad for them. So when these companies in ProDock, they develop something new, they develop a new product, a new service, they come to us and they say, like, this is what we've developed, what do you think of it? So we give our feedback from the Port Authority viewpoint, but then we bring them in contact with people from our network, because we know the whole port area, of course, we know all the different companies, be it a tank farm or a cocoa storage company or anything in between. We know them all, so we can make the links. So then you can really use this innovation that you've created in ProDock to put it into real-world use and make the whole port area stronger and better. Now, ProDock started, the initiative was taken in 2014. It took us about 1.5 years to develop the whole concept and then change the building into what it is now. It was opened in April of 2016. Within a year, it was completely full. We've now taken the building next door. That's also full. And the companies which are grown in ProDock, they're spinning out into the port area. So it's been a real success. We've had lots of interested parties coming to visit from all over the world. The King of the Netherlands was in ProDock in March, together with the Prime Minister of Singapore. So it's really, really working as this catalyst for innovation and for change in the port. We're now working on ProDock 2, so that's the next development in this whole process. And it's going to be a dedicated building this time. It's not going to be an old building that we transform. We're going to build a new building and focus a little bit more on the bio-based industry. It's going to be more specific for bio-based. It's going to have better infrastructure, special floors and walls and so forth, and better lab facilities, those kind of things. But those are learnings that we've taken from the first ProDock. So this is how our role as a port authority is changing. So instead of just being the market master, the company or the authority which decides you can go and sit there, you can have that space, and you have to do this, and you have to do the other. We're also becoming a matchmaker. So we're looking for synergies. We're looking for efficiency. We're looking to bring the port together instead of just a collection of companies to become a port community working together to become a better port area in general. But the one that I find the most interesting is this last one, the co-creator, and this is something which is very, very recent. It's that we, as a port authority, are also starting to invest now. What we're seeing is that these young companies, they're trying to get traction in the market, they're trying to implement the changes that they're developing, and they need help, and the banks aren't doing it. There are subsidies, obviously the EU subsidies, they're there, and you have venture capital and so forth, but the banks aren't really moving. So what we're doing as a port authority is sort of putting the money where the mouth is. We're investing in these companies, we're partnering with these companies, and we're ensuring that the changes that they can bring into effect are actually happening in our port area. Oh, the last slide. The last slide just says Port of Partnerships. So that's where we really want to be, and that's our role we're taking in the growth of circular and bio-based economy.